Today on the show, we want to cover Milo production, weed control. One of the most exciting things I think that's happened in agriculture in the last 20 years is we have a lot more options for weed control and better options, and Milo is no exception. So we'll talk about both the pre and the post options for your farm this year.
All right, well, first of all, whenever we talk about Milo, a lot of guys will say, well, I have to be concept treated. Yeah, that's great. It gives you some options like putting down Dual or Outlook, pre-emerge, or even Lumax. If you can use those types of products pre-emerge, you've got really excellent grass control. And when you think about Milo, the toughest weeds to kill are the grasses. So if you can start with a full rate of a grass product pre-emerge, that's fantastic. Now you'd only have broadleaves left to control or maybe a few escape grasses. If you want some additional broadleaf help, start with Lumax. If you just need grass control, Dual or Outlook would be fantastic choices.
You also could use Sharpen along with your Dual or Outlook if you wanted extra broadleaf control. But I mean, let's face it, we've got plenty of options post-emerge for broadleaf control. So like Darren said, I would really recommend you go with the full rate of a grass killer pre. Okay, let's turn to the post-emerge options. The most popular option is still a half a pint of either Banville or Clarity. And you know what? It works great in terms of a lot of the weeds that we have out there. Just remember that the full rate in corn is a pint. The full rate in Milo is a half a pint. So you're not going to kill as many weeds or do as good with that in Milo as you will in corn. So that's why we really encourage you, if that's going to be your program, you probably should throw in either some Buctril or some Atrazine, maybe even both, to spike it up.
Well, I don't know about putting the Clarity with the Buctril so much. For me, I just look at if I'm going to do that Clarity and Atrazine, I'm going to be out there very early. If I can't get out there early, then I'm going to switch over and use a pint of Buctril and a pint of Atrazine a little bit later in the season.
All right, there are some other post-emerge options that you need to be aware of. Number one is Starines. If you had a bad problem with kochia, Starines are a really good option. If you had a bad problem with yellow nutsedge, either Permit or Basagran are pretty good on yellow nutsedge. Remember, yellow nutsedge is a perennial, so don't ever think you're going to get perfect control. The best thing for yellow nutsedge is really fixing your drainage issue.
Well, there is another excellent post-emerge option. It's Husky. Husky is a premix of Buctril plus an HPPD chemical similar to Lotus and Callisto Impact that we use in corn. Now, if you use Lumax, I probably wouldn't use the Husky because you've got a strong dose of an HPPD in the Lumax. You really wouldn't want to use any more of that post-emerge.
Okay, then we get to the grass side post-emerge. There's only one option, it's Facet. That's the old Paramount. Now the problem with it is it's kind of expensive. That's why your money is better spent on a full rate of a grass killer pre, so hopefully you don't need that Facet post-emerge. The important thing is to spray when that grass is small. If the grass is 2 inches tall, you got a pretty good shot at control. If it's 4 inches tall, getting a little questionable. At 6 inches, I doubt it. Grass is the number one problem we have in Milo. I'd go so far as to say it's the number 2 problem also, and the number 3 problem. We're really worried about grass. So you want great control pre, so hopefully you don't have to use that Facet post.
All right, now let's talk about that pre-emerge option because let's face it, a lot of areas that are growing Milo are kind of on the dry side or have a more arid climate. If you put out your pre-emerge herbicide like a Dual or an Outlook after you plant, it's not going to work. You're not going to get enough moisture in time before those weeds start to germinate.
Well, you shouldn't say that for sure. I mean, you'd have to get moisture.
Happen.
Okay, so lightly incorporate your Dual or Outlook or Lumax right before you plant. Number 2, your second best option is to spray 2 to 4 weeks before you plant so you have more time to get rain on it. Your last option, the worst option, is to spray right after you plant.
All right, and let's just say that you don't get any moisture on it, you don't get that herbicide working, all of a sudden you've got grass that's up. Hey, you're going to have to pull the trigger and use the Facet and burn it back down because there isn't a reach back with an Outlook or a Dual. Once those grasses are up more than an inch tall, they're gone. There are so many options available to you. You should be able to do an excellent job controlling grass and broadleaves in your Milo production. Make a program before you get that Milo in the ground to get your weeds under control.
Hey, one last thing that I'll say. I realize you may be in dry country and you say, oh, I can't afford to have great weed control. Look, you can't afford not to have great weed control. You have to have better weed control than the guy in Iowa or Illinois who's got 40 inches of rainfall because you don't have that rainfall when you need it. Milo absolutely will do much better if you have good weed control, and it all starts with a good pre-program, but like we say, we've got a lot of good options post-emerge now too.
And one of the weeds that you might be after is our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?